One of our main goals for Zoo Tycoon was to make the experience of being a zookeeper as realistic as possible.
We've worked with some conservation partners as we made this game. They basically gave us loads of expert advice on in-depth animal behaviour, what animals need from their enclosures and how they need to be cared for in real zoos. So that was absolutely invaluable in making our zoo in the game.
With Zoo Tycoon, the purpose of the game is to feed the animals and look after them. And that way, it's just like a real zoo in the real world.
For the entire experience to feel authentic, it was absolutely critical that the animals look as realistic as possible.
We've spent a lot of time and effort in making them really authentic, so you can get up close to them, you can see the fur shader on the animal. It's really, really convincing fur.
The details and the appearance of the animals look very realistic.
It's how you would expect to see them looking if you saw them in real life.
The texture of their skin and their fur was amazing.
I was really impressed by the bear because bears walk differently than other four-legged mammals.
It's something of real beauty that connects together the real world and the games world in a way people can really understand.
Having achieved highly realistic animals was the first step, but we also wanted to make sure that the exhibits for the animals were as accurate as possible.
We try and create naturalistic looking exhibits, so when you come here and look out on our savanna, you might see a snapshot of what you would see if you were in Africa. So we take into consideration the land, the trees.
When you first design the exhibit, it should give options for natural behaviors to be displayed, so running, playing, and so you have to make it interesting every single day. That's where the enrichment comes in. So enrichment is just a fancy word for toys for the animals to play with. It's more than just toys though, they're stimulating to the animal in a very natural way.
Enrichment toys can be like plastic containers that have food inside of them, or like hay nets or hay barrels that have the ability for the animal to be able to reach into or manipulate the object to get the food out. By giving them a toy or an enrichment item to play with to be able to get to their food or be able to find a treat inside of it, actually gives them activity, and some of that shows off some of their natural behaviors.
The funnest part of the day is putting out the enrichment and having them discover it and interact with it, because it does elicit behaviors that are normal and needed so that they have a healthy life in captivity.
Realistic animals, realistic exhibits and enrichment toys allow Zoo Tycoon to provide the most accurate zoos ever seen in gaming. But the simulation doesn't end there. We also talked to real-world zookeepers about their day-to-day duties and simulated them in our game.
There are the basic duties I have to do. I have to, feed the animals. I have to care for them. So I spent a lot of time cleaning the barns, cleaning the yards.
In the wild, they can move away from their mess, and in captivity, they can't. So it's very important that the exhibits are clean.
But there's always things that come up that changes my day. Procedures, if an animal needs special care, has to go see the vet, that throws my whole day into a different pattern, which makes it interesting.
Another key goal of zoos in the real world is education. We worked with some really key conservation partners as we made this game. One way you can see that is in the Zoopedia.
The Zoopedia is similar to what we use as zookeepers as fact sheets. So all of our animals always have fact sheets that we can look up the information on them to make sure that we're providing the right environment for them in captivity, and it gives the facts about how they function and live in the wild.
I think in terms of education, the game teaches the player a lot about how to look after animals and conservation values and stuff like that.
For me, a real-life day out of the zoo is looking at the animals, seeing the beauty of them as close as you can get, and just experiencing the ranges of animals. The experience going around with your family. Now, in Zoo Tycoon, you get that experience. It's the first Zoo Tycoon game where you can actually walk around the zoo and look at the animals up close.